Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Sit Down Pre-Show. I am your host, Oksana Tademy, and I'm here tonight with the marketing extraordinaire, the fashionista, the blogger, and my business partner, Bianca Belabre. Hey, girl.
Thank you. Thank you so much
Welcome.
for having me.
Of course. So, everybody's going to want to know, who is Bianca? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, Bianca, she is multifaceted. She's a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So she is an entrepreneur. Well, let me talk about me, right? So I am an entrepreneur. I am a child of God. Okay. And I'm just an explorer of this world, honestly. Like, I'm a person that just wants to see what this world has to offer, love the people who are in it, and run a business successfully. Like, that's pretty much the overall goal. I'm an ultimate creative, creative thinker, creative doer, creative. Even when I would like make regular presentations, it would feel so boring to me. So it's just like everything I see is out of the box. So I would say that Bianca is a creative.
I love that.
Yeah.
It was a third person for me.
I know I was gonna keep it for a while, and then I was like, maybe
let's switch gears.
Maybe let's like actually talk first.
That's awesome though. So you're a creative. I love that answer. I think that's one of the reasons why we click so much, is because we're both very creative people.
Yes.
But yeah, so I mean, many people may not know this, but we actually first met on one of the sit down episodes
We
that you did.
Yes.
So kind of like tell everybody a little bit about that. Like, what was that experience like for you?
So this was 2022, 2021?
No, two.
Two? Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Two.
Okay, so whichever year. Cause yeah. Anyway, so we met at the sit down. That experience for me was very eye-opening. Specifically because I had been out of the camera scene. I was not on sets. I was not in front of the camera. I was not doing anything that was associated with like creative arts or videography, anything like that. So when I got the message from you guys, also, I was in a time when I had just moved to Orlando, Kissimmee area, and I didn't know anybody. So, I mean, I grew up here, but not really. So I didn't know anybody. So when you guys reached out to me, that kind of made me feel a little bit of a reassurance that I was supposed to be here.
Aww.
And then when I got to the set, I was like, God, what are you doing? Like, I was really taken aback because I thought it was going to be like a little cell phone tripod and some wireless microphones and a ring light. Like, that's what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
But then when I walked in, I was like, God, like, oh my goodness. Like, I was really taken aback by the professionalism, by the set, the layout, the production, everything about it. I was like, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really well done. And so I just took it all in, and I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be here. And I think that's something that I said to you that day. I remember specifically coming up to you and saying, Oksana, we met for a reason.
Yeah.
And at that time, I think I also said, I don't know why I'm telling you this. I'm not sure why I'm telling you that we met for a reason, but we have. And here we are a year later, like back at the set.
Yeah.
But with a business.
Listen.
Right.
Well, we don't get to that part.
Right.
We don't get to that part.
Okay.
So at the time when you were invited to be on the sit down, what were you currently working on? Because I know that you're in marketing. So
yes.
What was it that you were currently working on? Where were you in business at that time?
So when I came to the sit down, I was actually super busy. So during the pandemic, we got two big contracts. One of them from Florida A&M University and the other one from Leon County. And so we were working, like we were going in at that time. And we were also working with our other clients as well. So at that time I was at expansion. I was looking on like how to bring people on, how to maintain this much amount of work. But also I was in a point of transition because I was in a new city. The pandemic had just kind of started leaving us alone a little bit, just enough for us to like step our foot outside, but not be terrified if somebody coughed or something.
Right.
So it was a lot, like it was a lot going on at that time. So I was in a point of transition into not only a new space, but I was also navigating new waters after the pandemic. So it was a little bit of a double whammy because I didn't know what to do. So that's where I was in business as well. Like I wasn't even sure where I was supposed to be taking it, what I was supposed to be doing. Like, should I go back to Tallahassee since all my clients are there? Like, I didn't know where I really was. So that's where we were in business, but it was growing and yeah, taking off at that time.
Okay. Yes. That's pretty interesting. I don't think I've ever asked you that.
No, you haven't.
That was very interesting. Okay. Well, you kind of mentioned having to, like adjust and pivot and all these other things. So would you say that was one of your most challenging times in business? And if not, what do you think was your most challenging time?
I don't think that was my most challenging time in business.
Okay.
I think that I've experienced more challenging times when I started the business. That was I think most business owners can relate to starting a business being very difficult. Like it's a little ghetto in the beginning. It's a little ghetto. It's just a little bit. Only because it was really, I was teetering between going full-time in my business and working as a director of digital marketing at a different agency. So I was doing both at the same time. And when I finally let go of my full-time position, I was really banking on myself. And I don't think I had the discipline at that time. I know I didn't have the discipline at that time. Not I didn't think. I didn't have any discipline at that time to basically execute on the level that I needed to execute on. And it took me a while to show up as the person that I needed to be. And that was a process. That was a struggle. But I also needed my bills to be paid. So that part, because I had left the job. So I had to make it happen quickly. Listen, I was like hustling. And so that was probably like for me personally, that was probably the most difficult time because I had to like really figure out myself and who I was pretty quickly, but also change who I was because I couldn't stay the same. Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. So would you have done anything differently? Or would you have done it the same way? Just curious.
Would I have done I mean, the faith in me says no. Because everything was supposed to go the way that it was for me to learn what I was supposed to learn. But the reality of it is I think I would have saved more money. Because one thing I can do is buy lots of things.
I think all of us ladies are a little guilty of that. Just a little bit.
Just a little. I would have saved. But I did really good at saving, especially in the beginning. But I think maybe my financial habits, I think that probably would have been more of a focus, where it was more of my self-discipline, just kind of my business habits, but not my financial habits. So I didn't really take that into account. And that I think probably was something that I would change early on.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So financial habits and the discipline in that area would have made a difference. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. So moving forward, I'm pretty sure that was a situation that definitely like impacted you as a person and who you are. Were there any other situations, whether like business or personal, that you feel like really helped to make you into the woman and the businesswoman that you are today?
Yes.
You mind sharing one of them?
So I have I have like 2 years where I call it my series of unfortunate events.
I remember you mentioned this.
That is the title of those 2 years. It kept smacking me. It kept coming. Like it was just like back to back to back. Mm-hmm. And at that time, a lot of people do not know this about me, that I went to doctorate of physical therapy school. Mm-hmm. So I had graduated undergrad. I went to Florida A&M University. Shout out the Rattlers. Hey. So I went to Florida A&M University, and I went there knowing that I was going to be a physical therapist. So freshman year, my major was health science, pre-physical therapy. So graduated in 4 years. First semester out, I took the summer, but fall semester, I was in doctor of physical therapy school. So I didn't have any time off, right? Mm-hmm. So I get into this program, and I'm going from bachelor's to doctorate. Wow. So it's a 3-year program. So that means everything is condensed. Mm-hmm. Needless to say, I didn't do well, right? Ended up getting dismissed from the program. Mm-hmm. And I was devastated because I didn't know who I was outside of being a student. Mm. And that's all I knew for the last, I got dismissed 2 years into the program. Mind you, I told you it was a 3-year program. So that also threw me, because I was like, I only had 1 more year. Wow. And I was supposed to, my trajectory, when you see something where it's like, okay, let's say it's $100,000 job. Like when you're in the program, you're like, oh, yeah. That's the motivation, exactly. So in my mind, I was supposed to be making some money. Right. And that did not happen. I got kicked out of school. So I get dismissed from school, and I'm lost, lost. So that was the first event. At that time, I also had separated from a long-term boyfriend. Mm-hmm. We were together for years, more than 5, more than 6, more than 7, this is my first love, right? Aww. So separated from that guy in the same span. Yeah. Then got into a car accident. Then I get robbed. My father was diagnosed with cancer around this time. It was slapping me in the face. Within these 2 years, I was being drugged by this here ponytail, okay? They were it was dragging. So I remember by the time I even applied, so I applied to go to grad school again. So I ended up getting my master's in public health. Mm-hmm. By the time I was applying to get my master's, I just applied because I was like, I need to do something. Yeah. So that was probably the most pivotal time in my life, because it really took me out of a situation to put me into something new. Yeah. Because that's when I developed a Grow It style.
So wait a minute. Tell us about that.
Right. So in 2015, I developed a blog called A Grow It Style. Okay. And A Grow It Style was a blog where I would encompass all aspects of beauty. It didn't matter what color, what size, what shape. It didn't matter. I wanted to cover everything. Mm-hmm. Because I rarely saw myself in beauty campaigns growing up. Okay. Right? Black girl, natural hair, plus size, whatever the case may be, dark skin, you don't really see that, it's especially true. Growing up in the 90s, right? Yeah. So now, yes, now there's so much diversity, but back then there was not a lot. Not at all. And so I wanted to create a platform where everything was represented. And so that's what I did. So I started a blog called A Grow It Style, and we were growing and booming around that time. And this was also around the time that I started coming into my own self-style and self-worth. Before then, I was a tomboy. I didn't want to wear heels. I didn't want to do my makeup. I didn't want to do my hair. I wore sneakers everywhere. Wow. I was a tomboy.
I can't even imagine that now, because I know you.
You can't? Oh, baby girl, because my sneaker collection still goes to this day.
Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
But yeah, I
Wow.
I mean, yeah, I was a tomboy, and my friends that knew me back then, they could attest to it. Like I have grown a lot as a person,
Yeah.
and a girl with style was the testament to becoming a girl that had style. Like
Wow.
I didn't dress up. Like I didn't care for it. Like I was just like, okay, whatever. Like
Hmm.
yeah, I didn't care to do, but I also think I had like maybe a little bit of a maybe low confidence, maybe.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, so I started a girl with style when I started grad school. Around the time I started grad school,
Hmm.
and that's when I started my first business. So
Wow.
all of that, all of the dragging. Listen, I mean, you could have been a little bit more gentler with me. I mean, I'm
Right.
just saying. I mean, but it took all of that because also I think it had to because I'm so stubborn. I
Hmm.
wouldn't have done any of it
Yeah.
if I was still in that situation. I probably would have went a
Wow.
totally different route, right?
Hmm.
So it took all that dragging to get me to start my first business and end up here today with you. So
Wow.
yeah, so that series of
Woo.
unfortunate events was probably the biggest influence in my life, like the biggest
Wow.
change in my life. Yeah.
I think that's amazing though, like the fact that you went through all of that and still chose to like take that and make something from it that was, empowering and that was just pretty awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Like honestly, like I think that's really incredible. And even to have that mindset or like to have that perspective, where do you think that comes from? Like is there somebody in your life that you think kind of, helped you to become that way or
Um,
resources maybe or what do you think?
well, one of the biggest things I think is like giving up is not really an option.
Facts.
Like what else would I have done? You know what I mean? One thing I do know is I grew up, my mother always told me, you like expensive things. So you're going to have to get you a good job. Like she told me this at a young age. Cause the girl likes like every time I remember going to the store with her and I would
Mm-hmm.
pick out things and she was like, how do you keep picking out the most expensive thing? And it was just my taste.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, I wasn't really influenced on anything, but so I always knew that I had to have some sort of like good occupation or good work ethic because I needed to get the things that I wanted.
Right.
But
Makes
also
sense.
my mother was an entrepreneur. So I grew up seeing her like run a salon,
Mm.
hire new people, start her own beauty line, like print out flyers, hand out flyers, have this camaraderie with her clients.
Right.
Like I saw her do all of these things. So that also, subconsciously was a part of me, like seeing that experience. But also, my mother transitioned. So, my mother came to Florida after shutting down her shop and started
Mm.
working in cosmetology at Disney. So it's like she took
Ah.
her position and kind of like transitioned it to work for her in a different area. So that subconsciously I think also motivates me to see that like my mother never gives up to this day. Like she's pursuing a certificate in baking. Like she's a full student right now, like
Wow.
going to
I love
class,
that.
taking tests.
Okay,
And I'm like, if you like, this is the example that I'm seeing
mom.
on a
Mm-hmm.
daily basis. Like, she's never giving up.
Wow.
So, how can I? Like,
That's
so
awesome.
that's definitely motivation for me. But
Mm-hmm.
also, like, I think my family in general, just everybody has a amazing work ethic. Like,
Right.
all my family members are super successful. All like everybody that I've seen growing up was always on it. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that alone was like an example of like who you surround yourself with. But even my friends, like
Yeah.
my friends have like they've like listen, everybody that like I'm always amazed by like the things that my friends are doing.
Yeah.
And I'm always so proud. Like my cousin just graduated. My friend is like like everybody's just doing amazing things. So I'm motivated by that. Like you have to, keep up. You can't just like fall by the wayside. So that's also motivation for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good. Like you said, that's very important, like having the right circle around you.
Oh,
because for me, you're one of those people.
Oh.
So it's definitely important to have people around you that are constantly going. And this is no shade to anybody else, but I really feel like it's the Caribbean thing though, like the work ethic.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know what it is about us.
It's a Caribbean, African. It's like the islands. Like if you're on
anywhere in that spectrum,
I wouldn't say, but it's honestly there's some southern people that I also see. I think it just depends on the upbringing. But yes, I have met a lot of Caribbean people who are
like just
go-getters.
The value system is just like
well, we had no choice.
Ethic.
We didn't have because our parents were immigrants, right? So they're first generation in a new country, learning the culture, but also raising kids in the culture. So they had to have a different level of resilience, right? Because everything that they learned back home was not what they had here.
Exactly.
And then on top of that, you're raising these kids that are real bad. They're coming home talking about that's not how they taught us at school, like they're looking at us like, go read a book. I remember when like the internet really started coming out, and I used to come home and be like, Mom, we can go on the internet. And that's not what they knew, so it's just that example of resilience. Like when you come into this country as an immigrant, you come with nothing.
That's true.
And they made everything for us.
Built from the ground up.
They made everything for us. So seeing that, we don't think about it. It's probably very subconscious, but even just like seeing the parents, like you have to go over your aunt's house because all your parents are working, or whatever the case, when you're all with your cousins because somebody has to go to work, and then y'all switch to another aunt's house because who can afford childcare? Like, you know what I mean? So like it's like a whole value system, and you see the hustle through everybody, right? So I agree.
I could totally relate to all of that because my grandfather brought his family from Jamaica years ago. And my mom was maybe 11 when she moved here.
Right.
And so, that whole story of like how he went first just to like work on a plantation and save up money just to bring the family here. And like, so, we have that heritage, we have those stories. And I think you're right. That definitely contributes to like that work ethic and that grind that we have, because it's like we got to get it. Like,
because my father, and it's always the male in the family. Like my father and my stepfather were like the first people in America, and it's like, imagine, like
and we don't think about it sometimes.
We don't think about that. Like we
crazy.
are so comfortable in our regular lives that we are here in America living our dream, right? We are living the epitome of an American dream,
right?
Because we've started a business. We are working on our own time, doing our own thing because our parents sacrificed and came here and sacrificed it all to bring an entire family. So they couldn't even have their money.
Right.
They had to they had to send it back. So that's amazing. Like that alone is like internal motivation.
It puts things into perspective.
For sure. Definitely. A lot of perspective. And they had kids doing that.
Listen, that's the part that gets me.
How
like,
are you doing this? How are you doing this? Like I'm barely taking care of myself.
Okay.
Okay.
But in that vein, since we're talking about being on the grind and building, since we do have those privileges, and I love the fact that we're both doing something with it, but you specifically with marketing, like the fact that you took the time to like first do a Girl with Style, so shout out again for that, and then get into your own marketing company. So what was that process like with like building your company?
Well, building my company took it was another pivot for me. I had built a Girl with Style. We were doing collaborations. We were putting on events. Like I used to host this event called Exposure. And I was working with like Playtex and Lane Bryant. I was doing all of these super cool collaborations, but I got burned out from like being the face of every campaign that I had to do, because I was doing the hosting, I was putting on the events, I was writing the blogs, I was running the ads, I was doing everything.
All the hats.
Right. And so and this was all while I was in grad school, by the way, because remember I told you I went back to grad school.
Girl. That's a lot.
Let's not forget that I still got the master's.
Ooh, that's a lot.
So I was doing all of this while I was in grad school and working a job because I also needed money. So I was doing a lot. And so by the time I got to graduating, I took a course in risk communication in my grad program. And risk communication is basically how they market or they communicate through like a large communication of super important things, like how they used to have the campaigns for AIDS, or how they used to have the campaign for COVID, or like getting vaccinated, different things like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So that's risk communication. So when I realized that almost everything was a marketing campaign, that's how I saw that what I was doing was also marketing. Wow. And that's how I connected the two. And that's when I realized, like, oh, I love marketing. Like, I don't get me wrong, I like a good camera. You know what I mean? Like, I like a good microphone. I love a good photo shoot.
We know.
I like a good photo shoot. You know what I mean? But for it was like, it wasn't just that. It was the fact that I was doing all the things plus the photo shoot, plus the video, plus so I was like, I was done. So,
that would burn anybody out.
Oh, I was tired, child. Like, I was on a photo shoot every weekend. I remember, like, I was telling my mother today when I was leaving, like, I was like, this used to be my life in Tallahassee. Like, I would get off of work, change my clothes in the car, take a photo shoot. Like, I would be just rolling. Yeah. So when I took the course, I realized that I liked marketing. And so I was in my last semester. And I realized that I did not want to go to school again. And so I was like, but I know that I like marketing. So now I'm like stuck between a rock and a hard place.
It's like, what do I do? I'm
like, oh no. Oh no. So I decided to educate myself. And read a whole bunch of books, listen to a whole bunch of YouTube videos, but also I knew that that wasn't going to build my credibility.
Right.
So I started taking internships. And so this is how I started transitioning into marketing.
Gotcha.
I started taking internships in marketing, and I had educated myself so much because I had already been practicing with a girl with style. And I had already been practicing with businesses, doing marketing campaigns because I was doing brand collaborations, right? So I already had the blogging, the ads, the social media management. I was already doing all of that. I just wasn't doing it for other people.
Exactly. Okay.
And so when I got into my internship, they were like, how do you know all of this?
Right.
That's cool. I went from intern to account manager pretty quickly. Right. So then I did account management for a while, and then I got to be the director of digital marketing at an agency in Tallahassee. And I did that for a long time. I was still doing freelance on the side, like little businesses every now and then.
Right.
And then, I worked for another agency and moved to another agency and became the director of digital marketing there. And then that's when the transition happened, when I had to leave the position and like fully follow my dream. Because I had entered into an incubation program. So so I had went into like a business development program, a 12-week program.
Nice.
And within that program, I had to launch a business at the end. And that's when A Creative Station was launched.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, now that I'm saying it out loud, I did a lot.
Listen, I'm like, whew, the amount of twists and turns in this
story.
story.
A lot of twists and turns. Maybe a book needs to be written.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding. Listen, ChatGPT, write this book.
And the next idea was born.
Right. And it was this day. Listen, you want another chapter? Let's go.
Ooh.
But yeah, no, my life has, and in such a small amount of time, my life has taken a lot of loops and a lot of turns and a lot of sharp turns on a highway. Like, going 65.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. And I love how it all brought you here. That's so cool.
Thank you.
But speaking of other chapters,
yes,
what have you been up to lately? Are there any other ventures that you've been working on?
Listen, I'm a serial entrepreneur. Like, I'm a serial entrepreneur at this point. Yes, I have a new venture. So my business partner,
hi guys,
and I have started the Boss Collective. Woo. And so, yes, this is our new venture. We have a networking group of amazing boss women. Incredible boss women. Like, I'm inspired by them. And we are working and trying to build out this business that started off as an idea and a Google document.
For as long as we live, we will always reference
that Google document. We still have it. Just so you know,
it's in there.
It's still in our Google Drive.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are building the Boss Collective. It is a networking group of boss women that are focused on collaborating and empowering each other and uplifting each other, but most of all, supporting each other. So we are excited for 2024, to say the least. So many
things coming up.
Because we have so many things.
So many things that are about to take place.
Right. So, so from an idea, from a little mustard seed, here we go into this fruitful tree.
It's the prop usage for me.
Right.
Oh gosh.
So yes, we are embarking on a new journey, and I'm so excited about it.
I'm excited too, and just to see how everything just came together. Like, even with the story you were telling about your life and how all the pieces came together, it was very similar with us too. Because you know, you coming on the sit down, us meeting, connecting later on, and being like, hey, I don't know why we were supposed to meet, but we were supposed to meet. Let's figure this out. And just the fact that we were able to get together and say, hey, you know, we both have our own businesses, but let's see how we can come together and, you know, what that would look like. And so we ended up starting the Boss Collective. And here we are now with almost 700 members in our Facebook group of the Boss Collective. And we've done how many events this year? Listen, I stopped counting.
It's more than 8. It has to be like 8.
Listen,
which is crazy.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
It's been like 8, I think.
We'll just say, and that's not even including online.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's not even, listen, we've been working. We've been working. But the caveat of that is we met online.
This is true.
Yes.
This is true.
We met online through me thinking that I was supposed to move to Atlanta. This is what I thought in my mind, right? So in my mind, I knew that I had to move from Tallahassee.
Wow.
Because I was building this marketing business, but I felt like I need a bigger city, right?
Right.
And I started using hashtags in Atlanta.
Wow.
I started using Atlanta business owner, Atlanta, because I was like, if I'm moving there, I'm going to start putting my content out there. And you found me under a hashtag. Or Daniel found me under a hashtag and then DM'd me or emailed me. And that's how this all started.
Wow. And that's just crazy because I'm thinking about at that time, you know, like how he was, because we were trying to go to Atlanta to film some of the sit-down episodes. And so when he found you, he was like, oh, I think I found somebody in Atlanta.
Which is crazy because I wasn't even in Atlanta. And then you were like, oh, we're going to Atlanta to shoot. And I was like, I was so devastated. I was like, I'm not in Atlanta. I was like I was like in Central Florida, sitting in my house like, I'm not in Atlanta though. And I was like, how do I break it to them? And I was like, oh man, I had to like, and in my mind I was like, well, how do I get to Atlanta? Because in my mind I'm like, if somebody wants to interview me, I'm gonna figure it out. But then I was like, no, but like I can't. Like I don't even.
And we were right here.
Yeah, and I was like, actually, I'm in the Central Florida area, and you were like, crazy. We live here too. I was like. God, God, is that you?
Perfectly.
Yeah. So
perfectly.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And now, like, even like with everything, because we just had a strategy meeting. So, like, we know what's coming up for 2024.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are going to have to stay tuned.
Yes.
But even with what we just recently did with, the website launch too, like,
Yes.
so people can now check out the Boss Collective
Yes.
at bosscollectivenetwork.com. Just throwing
Check
that out
it
there.
out, bosscollectivenetwork.com.
Join the group.
Please.
But yeah, it's just been really encouraging to see what we've been able to build together so far. And I know like it's going to just keep growing and growing and growing. And this has really shown me personally, I can't, speak for anybody else, but for me personally, it's definitely shown me how powerful collaboration is.
Oh,
and how much
awesome.
farther you can get when you go together.
Yeah. Collaboration is important because it's not about competition. Right. I've really learned that over the years because my story, I never was looking at anybody that was like, and I was like, oh, I want to be better than them or I want to beat them. Beat them is crazy to me. Like, what?
It's like, why?
Like, how? How are you going to beat them? Tell me. Because what they're going to do today, you don't even know what tomorrow's looking like. They don't know what tomorrow looks like. I don't know what my tomorrow looks like. You know what I mean? So, like, how can you beat me? So that's why I'm always like interested in working with other businesses because like if we can figure this out together, I think two minds are better than one, right? Yeah. And you may know more than me. You may operate in like in our sense, we're two different, we're both creatives, but we're two different types of creatives, right? Like I'm one with the win. And Oksana is like, please, girl, please come back.
Wait, details first.
Come back, please, details. But then it switches sometimes. Sometimes you are one with the win, and I'm like, but what about this part? And you're like, you know what? It just works. But I would have been struggling trying to do this on my own. Me
too. Literally, it's a lot.
It's a lot. To run a business, it's a lot.
So like to have that person to like bounce off of and like to be able to like help each other in the areas that we're weak and like encourage each other in the areas that we're strong. Like that's really powerful.
Yes, it is.
And like the fact that even our differences complement each other.
For sure.
I think is pretty dope too.
For sure. Yeah. Cool. And we communicate pretty well.
Yeah, I was so proud of us.
Yes,
like because even like with like the recent incident that happened, I was like, we just got through that so easily.
Because I was like, well, it's nothing to be upset about. Like it's very minute. Like I was like, it's all right, whatever. Oh like it's not that. In the bigger picture, we're probably gonna face
a lot of different things.
Life, things that there's bigger things to worry about than small details in a business, right? Like our lives probably have been through so many other things that deserve our attention. That's true. So small things to me, like all right, whatever. It's cool.
Yeah. But even so, like even what you were saying earlier about like who you surround yourself with, like it's important. Like me personally, like I don't even consider people like close to me or like friends until I see how they handle conflict. Right. Because that's really important. Like, do you have the emotional intelligence and awareness to actually have the hard conversations and work through it so we can get better? That's important. So that was big to me. Even though it was a small thing, it was big to me. I'm just like, we're so great.
Listen, we are. And like, I can see it going so far because of that. Like, if you, especially the emotional intelligence, like it's so important because like there's going to be conflict. There is. Listen, I have a resume full of conflict that I have a resume full. Listen. It's coming. It happens. Okay? It goes down, Listen. So if you don't know how to navigate through that, then listen and keep your head, keep your mind, keep your level headed because some things are going to make you stumble. Yeah. Some things are going to make you upset, but do you know how to navigate being upset?
Right. And it's not about like putting your feelings to the side. It's just addressing it together and working through it. And that's it. Exactly. So that was really big. And I'm proud of us for that.
I'm proud of us too.
I'm very proud of us for that. Okay. So with that being said, so we talked about marketing, we talked about the Boss Collective, we talked about a girl with style and all these other things that you've done. But with all these pivots and these turns and these challenges that you faced, what advice would you give to a new entrepreneur or somebody who's trying to build from the ground up?
What advice would I give? Advice would I give? I would say follow your dreams. And I say that in a sense of like, be fearless, because we already said things will come into your way. The path is not clear
at all.
The path is so hazy. Okay.
Twists and turns.
The path can be hazy. You may feel unequipped.
That's a big one.
You may feel less than, and you may want to give up. And I would tell them, don't give up. I would tell them to organize themselves. I would tell them to invest in personal development.
Ooh.
Invest in your personal development. And I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, you can never invest too much in yourself.
No.
Ever.
No. Personal development has actually been the most one of the biggest things to help me navigate business, because I realize that my business is only as good as I am.
Right. That's very important.
And that is like, it's 100% a reflection of who you are. And so if you're unorganized, if you are just raggedy, if you're raggedy, that business is going to be raggedy, okay? Listen. Like from customer service, like if you do not know how to handle conflict, your customer service is going to be horrible. Your business is going to be raggedy. Your finances are going to be out of order. You have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your discipline and your personal development. Yes. Seriously. And that's like step one, because getting organized in your life, knowing how to set goals and actually meeting them and how to be dedicated, all of that is personal development. Wow. So yeah.
I love that. Do you have any specific like resources or books or anything that you'd recommend for new entrepreneurs? Or any entrepreneur?
Yeah. So with personal development, honestly, one of the biggest things that I like to be yelled at. So Eric Thomas is somebody, because I'm hard-headed.
Oh my goodness.
I'm so hard-headed.
Oh my God.
I'm so hard-headed. I need somebody to yell at me, because
like, Bianca, no.
Listen, get up. Because he be yelling.
We're like, this is a real life, y'all. No, I promise you. Like, this is our conversation.
Listen, Eric Thomas be yelling at you, but in the Lord's name. So he does. He got a church now. I'm dead. So yeah, Eric Thomas is definitely, like, if you're looking for motivation, but also personal development. I feel like he also ties both of that, personal development and motivation, into some of his speeches, but also some of his sermons, because now he does like motivation, but also with the word of God, which I thought was like taking it to another level, right? Nice. So I love that. I also listen to a podcast called The Social Proof. It is a entrepreneurship podcast, and they talk a lot about different aspects of entrepreneurship. I would say YouTube, honestly. Like, if you are looking for like how to organize my life, how to get more discipline, how to do time management, all of these things can be Googled and YouTubed and TikToked. Like, you can look up all of this stuff. I would say definitely read books on it. If you're looking for a book to motivate you, I say The Alchemist. That was the first book that I read that I was like, what?
Okay, so it made an impact.
Yeah. Have you read it?
I'm going to now.
I can let you borrow it. I've let other people borrow it. But The Alchemist, and I low-key want to read it again. But The Alchemist is one of those. Like, it's like almost like the Four Agreements.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's something that will change your mindset for sure.
Gotcha.
So that is definitely an important book to read. And I just read a lot of self-help books on finances, on the, I think her name is The Budgetista. She has like a finance book. Think and Grow Rich. There's so many different books out there that you could read. But definitely always educate yourself. I think at some point in your day, in your week, there should be an education component.
Yes.
Yeah.
Consistently.
No, like, yeah, seriously. Seriously, like, education doesn't stop. Like, after school, it does not stop. Especially if you're in business.
Yeah, you have no choice.
No, you have to keep growing. Especially the way the world is changing with like AI and all this stuff, you have to constantly be educating yourself.
Yeah, so true. Sure. Well, Bianca, it was great to sit down and talk to you. I just want you to take a moment to kind of let everybody know how they can keep in touch with you and check out everything that you're doing and all the things that we talked about.
Yes. Well, my name is Bianca Belabre, and I'm the owner of a creative station. If you would like to get in contact with me, you can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I am at acreativestation.com. It is a digital marketing agency, and we specialize in social media management, content creation, and becoming your remote marketing department.
Awesome. Yay. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, Bianca, for sharing your story. And I hope that it definitely encourages everybody else out there, because it encouraged me. And we look forward to having you again.
I'm ready.
So y'all be sure to look out for Bianca in the future. And also remember to stay tuned for the Sit Down Season 4 live.
Yes.
Woo! Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much for tuning into the Sit Down pre-show. I appreciate it. Hey, look, we have some exciting news coming down the pipeline with the Sit Down Live Season 4. Okay, so be on the lookout for that information, dates and times. We're going to be getting that all out. We're looking to start production around early next year, but we'll finalize a few things and then we'll send those dates and times out there where you guys can purchase your tickets, okay? If you're interested in that, you want to connect with what we're doing, you can inquire at contactthesitdown@gmail.com. Also, if you're interested in being a guest on the show, or if you want to showcase your gift or talent in one of our spotlight segments, you can inquire about that. Same email, send us an email, contactthesitdown@gmail.com. If you want to join the family, you can inquire that too. We're always looking for people to add to what we're doing. So listen, thank y'all so much for tuning in, and we'll holler at you next time, all right? Deuces.